Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm here back to explain this time Digi 4 Milestone 3. And here we are. The first thing that I'm going to do is make sure that the label corresponds to the way that you should label this. And this is the album is Digi 4. So this is various artists EP3 Digi 4 Milestone 3 instead of lecture, of course, your first and last name stuck. Saved in my folder and I'm in. I'm gonna go to Pro Tools, Preferences, make sure that automatically copy files on import it's selected. And then I like to do a couple of things, make sure that auto backup is on. I have it every 2 minutes. In Miami this week, the electricity has been all over the map, so this has saved me a couple of times. Last but not display. I like my markers always to have the always display marker colors. The default track color coding to track type and default color coding to track color. Okay. Then I can go to the folder that I have under my downloads, which is the folder that you will have, and I'm going to drag the 3 files there. After that, I put in Pro Tools Shuffle so I can select one track after the other one. By the way, I normally have A to C here because I like to do shortcuts like the one that I just did. R does zoom in and T does zoom out. I'm gonna make better use of my screen. I'm gonna hide this window on the right. And I'm gonna make sure that I can hear the tracks first.
Like my best friend, cause I know what you expect.
I got 3 great, awesome tracks, awesome. So the first thing that I do once I do that, I'm gonna click these 2 tracks, press delete. I'm gonna label the one on top original. And I'm gonna right click on it and duplicate it. I'm gonna mute the original. I'm not gonna touch those tracks anymore. And this track, we're gonna call it to master. So far so good. A second to breathe. And here's the interesting thing about Milestone 3. I'm gonna change the routing here a little bit, because I'm going to show you how to do mid side. What is mid side? Mid side is being able to affect the center track different than the 2 sides. And note that I'm not saying affect differently left, center, and right. What I'm saying is affect differently the center from the 2 tracks. So why would I do that? Let's hear a track, any track right now.
Go best friend, that's my best friend, best friend. Go best friend, that's my best friend.
On that track, for example, I feel that I could have the sides being a little more powerful. The vocal is very well mixed. I like the mix, by the way. D'Antoni, so far it sounds good, but I feel like the sides could be a little more hyped. Let's check another track. That track, for example, it might be that the hi-hat becomes later on problematic. Once we put it loud and present, it might become problematic, so we may want to de-ess that track without affecting anything else. Let's hear this track over here. By the way, thank you, Mr. James, for Hyman not putting the limiter in here. It doesn't look as limited as the other tracks. Sounding good. see what it goes here. The only thing I can tell with that track is that probably it's going to be beneficial if it becomes a little wider. I like that track so far. So what I'm going to do here is different that one we did before. I'm going to create 3 auxiliary stereo tracks. That's the first thing. Then I'm going to create a 4th one, which is the same. I'm just going by order so that we know what's going on. If you're wondering if this is the same, yes, it is the same. I just wanted to understand you that these 3 are for the MS. This 4th is the mid side. Then I'm going to create a stereo audio track for the print track and 1 stereo master track. I'm going to stay there for a second so that you guys can watch this. 3 auxiliary tracks for the MS settings that I'm going to do it in a second. 1 for the 2 bus that we know already. 1 for the print track and 1 for the master track. Let's create that. And I'm going to go to the mix window and I'm going to route in here. We know this already. The output of the 2 master is going to go into the input of these 3 tracks. I'm going to label these tracks. The first one is called center. Let me put center. The other one is side, and the other one is sides or sides. And I like labeling the other one sides prime, so it's pretty much a copy. To me, and because I like mastering, when I learned this technique, it was revealing and I use it all the time. The first track, the center. Both tracks are pan dead center. The second track stays the same. The third track is going to be cross panned, and we're going to add in here. Let me take the heat out. And I'm going to add in here on the third track a trim. And that trim, we're going to flip the polarity. This is mandatory. Look at this sides prime. Again, things are inverted. Left became right and right became left. And I'm going to flip the polarity, so it has to be red on this trim plugin. Now these 3 tracks, I'm pressing shift to select the 3. And then I'm going to press shift option so I do it on the same tracks, on the 3 tracks at the same time. And I'm going to go to bus 1. So these 3 tracks are going to pick up the signal from this one. Then these 3 tracks are going to go to the 2 masters, so we know that that's going to be bus 3. I'm going to go here to get input bus number 3, label this guy, 2 bus, and then the output of this guy will go into 5 and 6, and the input of this goes to 5 and 6 input. I press this track on input only for now, and I label this print or master, whatever you guys prefer. Now, I normally put these tracks on solo isolation, Command S, look how they become grayed out, so that I can have that. So far, my routing should work. Let's check it out. Okay, good. Here's the important part. Check it out. I'm going to mute this track, and we're going to lose everything in the center. I'm going to go back to the Anthony's track so that you guys can see how I become Houdini and I make the vocals disappear.
What you expecting,
Or the center vocals. See? What are we hearing there? There we're hearing the cancellation of the 2 tracks. Why so? Look at this. Here's the left track. The right became left, and we flip the polarity of that. So on the left and on the right, we're hearing everything that they do not share. What is it that they don't share? The center. So here's the center track.
Know what you expecting, best friend.
Okay, if I mute these two tracks,
That's my best friend.
I'm gonna press Shift M.
Best friend. Go best friend, best friend. That's my best
We
friend.
stay with just the center. So anything that we do to this center track would affect the center processing. And anything that we do to these side tracks will affect both tracks. Please do not think as left and right. Think about the sides. Both sides have to be treated the same way so for this to work. What's next? I'm gonna make a group of these two tracks, the sides, but here's the trick. I'm gonna make sure that the attributes of these two, which I'm gonna call sides, are all except for the first one identical. I normally press Option click and I deselect the first one. Why so the first one is not the same? Because on one of the tracks, just on one of the two sides, we gotta have that polarity reversed so that they cancel each other. So the first slot A, they are not going to be the same, but the other ones, they will be. Let me show you this. I'm gonna pull it, an EQ, a regular EQ that we so much know. Jaime just asked me, how do I get the other plugin to stay open? So I'm gonna show you that. You can have two plugins open at the same time by either clicking here on the red button and then clicking the next plugin that you want to open up, or by opening one, I'm going to keep this one on the left, and then shift and open the next one. So I got the two plugins open. Because of the group that I just did in changing those alterations, if I move one, the other one will move out as well. Don't call me Houdini now, okay? And that's the important trick, because for this technique to work, both channels in every processing must be identical to each other except for this first trim. Otherwise the technique doesn't work, okay? So what do I like doing? And doing very little goes a long way with this MS mid-side technique. I'm gonna listen to the Anthony's track.
Know what you expecting, best friend. Go best friend, best friend. That's my best friend.
I normally like clearing out the low end on the sides so that the center gets a little more prominent. Oh wait, well I'm gonna finish this
Know
out.
what you expecting,
I gotta really do something before I go. My gain structure is not good, so
go best friend, best friend. That's my best friend, best friend, best friend. Go best friend, best friend.
remember, just a quick reference, I normally go just at the edge of the two greens. I don't spend that much time in the first run, but and that's a quick reference. I will keep tweaking this as it goes. But gain structure is super important. I'm gonna go for the loud part.
That's my best friend, best friend, best friend.
Quick clicking.
Best friend, best friend. That's my
Alrighty. Now I come back to my track and I'm gonna listen to the Anthony's track. I was listening.
That's my best friend, best friend.
So I normally clean up a little bit of the mute.
Go best friend, best friend. That's my best friend, best friend, best friend. Go best friend, best friend. That's my best friend, best friend. Hell when I miss you, heaven when you around. Never thought that's something I would think about.
Okay,
But I
nice.
moved out of town. Then understood that I'm looking for what I found. I mean, if you think about it, we were speaking about a couple and you said it makes sense. Cause really, who gon' know you better than your best friend? So I was like,
I'm listening.
damn, might be awkward, but it's true though, shit. You a queen and I'm a boss like you go, Ben. So
Before I go any farther, I'm gonna do a couple of things that I've told you to do. First, I'm gonna check on my monitoring. So I'm gonna put on my master the trim. Why so? Because I don't want to distort my digital to analog converter. Then I'm going to add my loudness meter, which is our U-Ling. Perfect. We are still targeting minus 14 on this one. I'm going to put my maxim channel, or again, and I'm gonna make a copy of this one just to show you how would I do it on the TDR. I'm gonna duplicate this track. I'm gonna mute. Remember, I gotta use just one of the two. And in this one, instead of putting the maxim, I'm gonna use the TDR. And this one is called Tokyo Down Labs. Now that while I'm here, there's a free version of the Kotelnikov. There's a free version of the Nova. By the way, this is the free version, and there's a free version of these EQ. Highly recommend them. If you're interested on the paid versions of the Nova and the TeamSlick in audiodeluxe.com, they are in promotion, I think, until the end of the month for 15 or something like that. If you buy them or not will not affect this process, and I'm making no money out of that, so it's completely your choice. I'm just suggesting it because I think they're spectacular, especially at that money. So here I am. Let's start by using the TDR6. I'm pressing Shift M, and let's click. Let's start hearing those tracks. Let's put to -1 the ceiling, and let's push this volume.
That's my best friend. Hell when I miss you, heaven when you around. Never thought there's something I would think about.
Let's get to the loud part of the song. In the loud part of the song, I'm gonna try to get to peak in here on the short term around -13 or so that the average of the song is around -14.
Best friend, co-best friend, that's my best friend, hey, co-best friend, that's my best friend, go best friend, that's my best friend.
For now, that seems fine. If I go to the other tracks, let's check on the other tracks, the loud parts. Let me bring this down. Hopefully we're in the same one. If not, I'm gonna adjust the good enough for now. And let's check this one, the loud part of this one. That one feels a little louder, yeah. I'm gonna drop a little bit on that one. And in the other parts, I'd rather have that one part that is only that part that is a little louder, and the other one would be fine. So let's move on. By the way, let's check. See, if you don't have the TDR6, let me do it with the Maxim really fast. Select the 2, Shift M. Now I'm gonna go to the Maxim. I'm gonna reset this by clicking on here. I'm gonna set my Maxim to -1 and drop this level. Let's go to the loud part of down to this.
Best friend, that's my best friend, hey, co-best friend, that's my best friend, go best.
If you check, I went right ahead in automatic mode to -11.1 because on this one, that's what I pushed, I think. Yeah, so yeah, this is the number that I pushed on the other one. By lowering the threshold, we should get to the very close amount. Let's check it out. We should be on the 13 at some point.
Best friend, that's my best friend, hey, co-best friend, that's my
It looks like I had to push a little more.
Go best friend, that's my best friend.
That sounds good. That's good. This one. That one still feels louder there. Back to this one. Maybe I went too far on the other one. And this one.
Expect them, best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your lesson, best friend.
Cool. moving forward. So I did it with the TDR6 and the Maxim. Now that I've done it with the Maxim, I'm gonna focus today on the TDR6. So I'm gonna mute the, just so that we're in the same page instead of having the dub. I'm gonna keep this one as TDR6. Got it. So far so good. Breathe it out. You can put pause or continue with me. What's the deal with this one? Check it out. So far, I got a little EQ.
Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your lesson. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Cause I know what you expect.
I'm gonna wanna have the vocal, the dead vocal, a little more present. Best friend. So instead of boosting in the center channel, I'm gonna cut off a little bit on the sides. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your lesson. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Cause I know what you expect. Best friend. I hear a little bit of a problem with the center on a DS, because the TDR6 has a de-esser, high frequency limiter. Let's dial this one in. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. I'm gonna exaggerate so that you guys hear how it sounds. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your I know I'm gonna sound like a paid guy, but this sounds amazing. See how much I'm reducing, and it's not affecting that much the recording. I'm exaggerating. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your lesson. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. So with that in there, what I'm doing is just reducing the S's, and I'm exaggerating that, so I'm gonna do a little less of that. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Learn every question of your lesson. Best friend. Treat you like my best friend. Cause I know what you expect. Best friend. Let's solo the frequency. The frequency that I'm hearing is a little higher, so I'm gonna go probably to the 6-7 case. Okay, I'm getting there. There you go. Like my best friend, cause I know what you expect. Best friend. Bypass this. That's my best friend. Nice. Best friend. That's my best friend. Very powerful. Best friend. That's my best friend. The beautiful thing about that is that once I get to that, I may be able to push a little more here because it gets less aggressive. Okay, good. Let me check on my recording on the OBS. That should be good. It's recording. Great. I'm coming back. By the way, that's a free software called OBS. It took me a while to set it up, but I'm working. So back to my track. Now, I cleaned a little bit on the mids. I haven't done much to the center. Let's check the center up. I'm gonna just drag that one, but not as aggressive because this one is cutting all the center. So I'm gonna just put a high pass filter way below, probably around 22 or so. Let's hear it. I don't want to do any of this for now. I like that. Then I hear a little bit of that one. I'm not liking that much. If you don't remember, that shortcut is Shift Control Click, and then I can solo that frequency. The beautiful thing is that now if I just want to work on the center, I can mute the two sides. By the way, it looks like I'm muting only one side, so I can fix that by going Modify, Attributes, make sure that solos, volume and mutes are on. I know I went a little far, so I can go onto it, modify, and then just make sure that that's on. In automation, if you want it. I normally don't do much automation in the master, especially not on the sides. But anyway, so let's mute that. Let's work on the solo. Oh, that part, that resonance right there. Best friend, co-best friend, best friend. That's my best friend, best friend, best friend. Hey, co-best friend, best friend. That's my best friend, best friend, best friend. Go best friend, best friend. That's my best
best friend, best friend, best friend.
Let's compare it. How we doing with the original? Original mix was sounding good. Again, I selected 2 tracks. I pressed mute on one and I hear the other one. This is the master track. We should be hitting it at around -14. Oh, if I would have wanted it to have it as close as 14, I wouldn't have get it. So do not applaud right now. I know you want to, but hold it. Let's hear it. Sorry. Look at that. Let's hear this. It was a good mix. We heard it, and I honestly believe that. See what, by not doing much, how much are we getting out of this new track? So now we're all about the low end, and because I want to get this track a little tighter, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to put the clipper, which is literally what it does. First, I'm going to get a little bit of saturation. That's what I like doing. I love saturation. So let's hear this. I'm going to exaggerate. Too much. I'm hearing. I'm exaggerating so that we can hear differences, and I recommend you guys do the same. Especially you're not hearing it. I'm gonna overdo it so that it's obvious. Way too much. Perfect. So now. Great. Let's go back. Okay, I like that. Let's hear the compressor. I normally set a compressor. Let me lower this. I'm trying to see. Okay, the Nova is their own. What did I do there? I moved it. So let me back it off. By the way, I like normally de-essers before the compressor. So I'm going to leave the de-esser before. Now let's get the compressor. And here we are. I'm exaggerating way too much compression, and that's intention so that we can hear that. I'll normally set the release the fastest first, then the attack the fastest, and I slow down the attack. Listen to the kick drum there. I'm gonna back off in a second, but listen to the kick drum there. It's punchy. Now let's back off. I like that. Bypass. Loudness. It's my lucky day. I should go buy the lottery. Okay. Let's compare to the original. Shift M. We've done something. Not much processing, yet we've been able to hear the width of the track, hear the depth of the track, hear the height of the track. And of course, we're gonna save these settings like we've done in the past to the session folder. So session folder. Okay, and I'm gonna save it as the name of the track. And I have to be specific. I'm gonna cancel this for a second. So best friend, and I gotta be clean of how I make this save, because this one is gonna be save as best friend center channel, and then I'm gonna go to the other side and I'm gonna go and say save as. I'm gonna click on it because I'm feeling lazy. Instead of center, I'm gonna call it sites. By the way, of course, all the time that I was doing the changes on one, I should have been doing the changes on the other one. Does that make sense? I'm gonna move to the next track. I'm gonna go to that loud part. And I can stay with the same settings for now and then hear it. By the way, let's save the settings on the TDR as well, because we may change the compressor, we may change the clipper, we'll see what we change. So save it as, make sure that this is on the, again, session folder, because you guys want to send that to me. And I'm going to save it as best friend TDR6. Boom. Saved. Great. Now, let's hear the next track. First of all, feels louder, so I'm gonna drop the level a little bit here. Let's check the loudness. I'm constantly going there. That's much better, because that's the loud part of the track and we're a little past, so that's good. Check. Great. Let's check the rest of the track. See, I mentioned before that hi-hat. Let's see if we can do anything else to that hi-hat. See, it's almost very touching it. Let's hear the frequency of the hi-hat. It feels... it's probably here. Awesome. Let's leave that there. Let's check that hi-hat. I may want to just select this, look for the hi-hat track. Let's mute the other ones. That's probably the beginning of the hi-hat that I don't like. Let's bring the other ones back. Let's hear what else we don't like in that center channel. There's a little bit of thumminess there. Let's hear this track. A little bit of there, but not that much. The sides, it doesn't feel like I need this high end, so I'm gonna take off of that. And I also want to control, there you go, that sides, so I can have a cleaner version of it. Now I gotta save these tracks as, this is not called Best Friend anymore, so it's called M-Boy. Okay, so save it as, this is gonna be called M-Boy Sides. M-Boy Sides, so that you guys can recall afterwards. And last but not least, save as M-Boy, but instead of sides, center. Let's hear this clipper. Let's back up. I think I can lower this a little bit more. I'm not gonna exaggerate too much. If I don't look at the meter, I kind of like what it's doing there. It's doing too much maybe, and a lot of people might judge me, but it blends better with the rest of the track. I may want to lower the threshold just to get that a little tighter, punchier. Yeah. Because this track has the hi-hats being so aggressive, I may lower this threshold now to get some. There you go. It's a multi-band compressor right here. What option do we have? It's a brick wall, so nice. Let's check it out against the original. Oh wow. Look at that. Punchiness, tightness. That's why MS is so great in the sides. Here it comes. Sides are there. Let's hear it. Original. Listen to the reverbs on that track. And last but not least, well, I have saved that, have I? Yeah, Envoy Center, everything is saved. Let's save this one. Save as. This is gonna be called Envoy. Envoy, perfect. Let's go to the last track. Let's get started here. Feels a little louder there. Let's see how we're doing. See, my ear is not telling me what this guy is telling me here. If I go here, it feels louder. It's gonna get there. Oh, there you go. Okay, now let's check the EQ on this one. That bass. Let me mute the sides. All of that part. See, all of this. I may open it up, open the Q a little bit. Mid frequencies. Just to open a little more. I like that. It's punchy. Just because Jaime likes it, I'm gonna push the low end a little bit. Not too much. I like that. A dB or so. Let's open up the sides. Let's bring it back to probably the beginning of the track. By the way, I should have dropped markers. So this is best friend. My next track is Tuk, Envoy, and last but not least, She4. Is that right? She4. Why did I put the? Sorry, no intention on doing this. Come on, got it. Yeah. Let's hear the low end on this one. I like that. Sounds punchy. Let's get to that part where I like that. Check this out. Frequency on that one is not that high anymore. Come on. Yeah, that high is still. It might help me control the edge of the kick drum as well. Yeah. Drop it, James. By the way, here's the labs. Reset it. Click on reset it. But we don't want momentary. We want integrated. I'm there in the money. Remember, something between minus 13 to minus 14.5. It's okay. We're aiming to YouTube numbers. It's making me dance the track. Yeah. I'm loving it. Let's check it against the original. See how much more space we got. By the way, these music, if we were mastering for releases, they're normally peaking in here. I'm gonna say around minus 10 and minus 8, so they are a lot louder. for me, in making them really loud, it's another art. And there's no intention or not to show you, but it's the tools, it's how we approach it, and it's part of it. So it's better to understand that loudness has different aspects, and on streaming there are guidelines like what we've said, to set the streaming for Spotify or YouTube to -14 or Apple Music to -16. The good thing is that you can set it for the loudest, in this case YouTube, and for Apple Music, their algorithm will lower that track. So I always normally just think about what is going to be the loudest format that I'm going for, and then that could be changed. Remember, this track is not affecting our tubas. And remember that I have these two just because originally I showed you on the Maxim, but there's no intention of you having the two tracks up. It was just so that we can compare it, but this is so much better of a tool that I'm just enjoying that. If you're wondering what this one is doing a lot, because we're compressing a little bit, we're limiting a little bit, we're pushing the level, we're saturating slightly. Bypass this one. Lovely. And let's save this one, and She4, save as She4. Got it. And let's save this, save as. I'm gonna press on any one that says size just so I can change this to She4. And I'll do the same over here, save as. She4. So I got my masters down, and I'm gonna print. So I'm gonna go to the beginning of the track, and I'm gonna hit record now here, and I'm gonna start printing. I'm gonna print just a little bit of them, make sure that the original is muted. I'll make this larger. You can see the difference in the level between this one and that one. Both of them are large and large. I'm gonna assume that I did the whole track. I'm gonna go to the next track. Oh, I made a mistake, so I'm gonna undo. What was the mistake? And I'm glad that I'm doing it on camera so that I can make it. I didn't recall the presets. So the first track, I got your other tracks in here. Best friend center, and the other ones are best friend sides. Remember, I need to have this folder that I'm going to show you in a second. Best friend sides. Let's make sure that it changed for both. Yes. This session has this folder, plugin settings, that I need you to send me. Otherwise, I would not be able to recall. It should be part of your session when you send me. Okay, so now let's go to the track and let's print it. Now that I'm missing this one. Best friend, settings for best friend, good. Let's record best friend. Nice, powerful. She pass it up, puff, puff, and try to get out where the people fuck up. Only diva, I don't get enough. Nice. Let's assume I have done the whole thing. Again, I'm gonna go now and recall for Amboy center, Amboy sides. I got the two. Do they look identical? Yes. And I'm missing this one. Amboy. The track is a little louder. There you go. track starts there. I heard that it was clip in the beginning, so there's nothing I can do. Normally when you print your tracks, in this case Dora, make sure that you leave a little bit of space before you start printing the track, so that you don't clip. Look how this looks clipped. And let's assume I recorded the whole song. And last but not least, let's go to Jaime's track. And we'll go to She4 center, She4 sides, and She4 here. And let's print that track. Record. Got it. Thank you. Nice. So I got my 3 tracks, and now I'm gonna label them. Let's assume the whole track was done. I normally would create fades, for example, at the beginning. On these tracks, it's like you barely are leaving me any space. It's a good thing to print a little bit of lead before that. And let's assume this is the end of the track. I normally would do little fades if needed, or just if there's no need for fade, I will clean the end of that, so it doesn't go for the entire track. Maybe I'll cut it up there, so you can do a little bit of cleaning. Let me record the end of this track so that I make sure what I'm teaching you is on video. I'm gonna record the end of the track. I let it go all the way down, and I'm gonna stop. So there I can either another